Good morning, everyone. It's Wednesday, January 13th. From the San Antonio Express News, my name is Luis Vasquez, and this is your Express Briefing. All of the stories you need to know to start your day. You can expect sunny skies and a high of 64 degrees in San Antonio today. The U.S. House convened Tuesday night to vote on urging Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove President Donald Trump with a cabinet vote. But shortly before that, Pence said he would not do so in a letter to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Meanwhile, 3 Republican lawmakers announced they would vote to impeach Trump. The Texas legislative session began Tuesday with the election of a new House Speaker and the display of unity. But both parties remained at odds over proper health precautions amid the pandemic. And now let's move on to our top stories for the day. A stalled proposal for a program aimed at helping local bars and restaurants keep their lights on and pay their employees amid the coronavirus pandemic may be gaining steam. Given the scale of need faced by the food and beverage industry, seriously hurt by occupancy restrictions and diminished dine-in crowds, District 1 Councilman Robert Trevino believes these businesses and workers alike need the targeted relief. But Trevino's proposal has been in limbo since he first rolled it out in October, despite the backing of 4 other city council members to at least weigh the proposal. Joshua Fechter has more on what it will take for the program to move forward. During his first speech since those riots in D.C., Trump briefly spoke out against the violence that left 5 people dead, including a police officer, and trashed the U.S. Capitol. "We believe in respecting America's history and traditions, not tearing them down," Trump said. "We believe in the rule of law and not in violence or rioting." The visit had the region on edge Tuesday. Hundreds of Trump supporters organized a Trump train in a show of solidarity, and critics of the president warned his appearance so close to last week's violence was a danger to the community. Read more about what Trump said and what his supporters and critics told us over at expressnews.com. On Tuesday, a line of President Donald Trump's supporters parked around the corner from the entrance to the Santa Ana National Wildlife Refuge, adjacent to a section of the U.S.-Mexico border wall that Trump used Tuesday as a backdrop for a stage exiting celebration of himself. About 10 miles north of that car caravan, 100 people gathered in front of the San Juan headquarters of LUPE, La Unión del Pueblo Entero, an organization founded by Cesar Chavez, the legendary farm workers organizer. This gathering was meant as an antidote to Trump's border photo op. At the Lupe rally, you felt undiluted anger. Columnist Gilbert Garcia was in Alamo and puts the parallel worlds in perspective. Despite health officials' warnings not to travel because of the spreading virus, 8,700 passengers passed through the Transportation Security Administration checkpoints on January 3rd at the San Antonio airport, and more than 1.3 million passengers flew nationally. Still, the numbers were down 49% in San Antonio and 45% nationally from a year earlier, but it was the biggest number of passengers since the pandemic began in March. But with the holiday over and COVID-19 cases continuing to spike, many travelers once again are staying at home. Airlines are responding by cutting flights out of San Antonio. We have a preview of the months ahead for the airline industry over at expressnews.com. Now that more Texans can receive the coronavirus vaccine, we have everything you need to know in our frequently asked questions page over at expressnews.com. We also have a dashboard monitoring how much of the state has been vaccinated and another dashboard where we're tracking San Antonio's COVID-19 case counts, hospitalizations, and positivity rates. Head over to expressnews.com to check out those interactive dashboards. Next up are your need-to-know headlines. You can find all of these headlines and more inside of your Express News subscription. Bexar County added 2,303 new COVID-19 cases, the second largest daily number of new cases. As case numbers and hospitalizations climb, University Health System is putting tighter restrictions on who can visit patients at University Hospital. Cowboys Dance Hall held a large event on January 9th. There were no masks or social distancing. 2 citations were issued. We're keeping track of all of the citations for coronavirus emergency violations over at expressnews.com. The Bexar County Commissioner Court begrudgingly approved $2.5 million for jail overtime, but demanded the sheriff provide more details in the future and offer better solutions on curbing costs at the detention facility. U.S. Representative Joaquin Castro will serve on a team overseeing the impeachment of President Donald Trump. The San Antonio congressman was on the latest episode of our Puro Politics podcast to talk about the aftermath of last week's Capitol riot. The Department of Justice on Monday awarded a local law enforcement task force a $1.5 million grant to help combat human trafficking. The Bexar County District Attorney's Office will get about $350,000 in county funds to hire 3 prosecutors and a paralegal focused on family violence cases, resolving a clash among top officials about how the money should be spent. What are the chances the United States debt situation leads to hyperinflation, and what can you do to protect yourself? Columnist Michael Taylor takes a deep dive on one reader's questions in his latest Smart Money column. Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzalez on Tuesday named veteran prosecutor Darrell Harris as chief of his office's new Civil Rights Division, which will review police use of force cases that result in deaths or injuries. Governor Greg Abbott has appointed State District Judge Lori I. Valenzuela to fill a vacant seat on the San Antonio-based 4th Court of Appeals. Solar panel installations are expected to hit a record high in the United States this year, with Texas expected to see almost 30% of new solar farm construction, more than any other state, according to the U.S. Energy Department. The Bureau of Land Management's auction of oil lease in the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge marks an interesting turning point for the industry, writes Chris Tomlinson in his latest business column. Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson would have been great to follow on Twitter, the Express News editorial board writes, adding, but had the social media platform existed in the 18th century and suspended their accounts, neither would have claimed their First Amendment rights had been violated. Sports columnist Mike Finger on the NBA writes, quote, the league wildly hailed as a coronavirus role model has ventured out into America where it learned 2 incontrovertible truths. The honor system has its flaws, and this isn't over yet. Check out Mike Finger's full column over at expressnews.com. Herb Keller is still a beloved presence at Southwest Airlines 2 years after his death. Randy Diamond noticed the flight attendants on a recent flight all wearing a button with his face on it. The buttons recalled a simpler time at the airline when Southwest Airlines was making big profits and employees were secure in their job and part of a large happy family. Southwest is still no frills, but the employees aren't joking so much anymore. Some flight attendants even seem a little cranky. Read the latest Wary Traveler column for a full explanation. San Antonio nonprofit Spare Parts' new brick-and-mortar shop allows it to sell repurposed items designed to encourage creativity year-round. Read more about the store and how it came to be over at expressnews.com. Where you see a garden, they see a tasty buffet. We have everything you need to know about coexisting in a deer's world in Rene Guzman's latest column. In yet another example of his deep commitment to helping his native country and its indigenous citizens, Spurs guard Paddy Mills is launching a youth basketball league in Australia for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders. The Tony Parker documentary, The Final Shot on Netflix, tops our look at what's new or notable in home video this week. And that's all for today. This was your Express briefing for Wednesday, January 13th. My name is Luis Vasquez. Please consider becoming an Express News subscriber to get in-depth coverage on all the stories you heard today. Also, be sure to rate and review this podcast inside of your Apple Podcast app, as it really helps the show. Have a wonderful day, everyone.